what we have to do differently in that virtual environment to be successful. Based on all of our virtual delivery experience, our observation of other instructors, and our best practice research that we've done on instructors that are really successful, we found out that they have to really pull out certain behaviors that they have and accentuate those to compensate for some of the things that we lose, the physical presence of participants that we lose from the face-to-face environment, and then those visual cues that we lose. So what are some of the behaviors that we need to expand upon? And you can type it in chat or you can just say it out loud.
Voice fluctuation and tone.
Okay, voice fluctuation and tone. And who is speaking?
Oh, sorry, that's Amy in Colorado.
Amy in Colorado. Amy H. Okay, thank you, Amy. What else? Christy says you have to expand your voice the same way. Sue says energy in your voice. Thank you. So it's all about creating that energy with your voice in the room. So I want us to keep this in mind, this energy and voice, as we move forward today. And just think about any other things that may come to your mind that are critical that we have to expand upon in the virtual room. The next step is really trying to deepen learning and meet really the course objectives that you have that are in your instructor guide. We talk about doing this in a couple of ways. So you want to deepen that learning and create a good learning transfer. And so we're going to talk about how to expand the use of questioning to make meaning of that learning. Questioning is really the key, and that's why we have the question mark here. How you ask questions is key. And you're given a number of questions in any good instructor guide. But those aren't the only questions that need to be asked. So while you're uncovering, what you also have to do is listen to understand and then react seamlessly and transparently to the challenges in the room. But I'll say it all starts with questioning. And let me throw this question out to you, and I'll ask Diane. Diane, why is questioning even more important in virtual than it is in face-to-face?
Because if you're questioning, it keeps the participants involved as well. If you're just lecturing, you have no way of knowing if they're involved.
Good. So it's one way to make sure that they're connected and involved. Good. Sue, do you have any other thoughts to add to what Diana said?
I think it also enriches the conversation because when people are invited to respond to the questions, other things come out. So then, and sometimes there's a challenge there as well if it starts going kind of down a side path. But
Who's ever had to go down
value.
a side path? Raise your hand. Yeah. And you know what? It's even crazier if it goes back down a side path in virtual, right? In classroom, you might have time to handle it, but in virtual, it presents even more of a challenge. Thank you, Sue and Diane, for your comments there. The other challenge is it's not really as much the question, but it's where you want it to take it. And when you ask a question, it's really important that you listen to what they say. But once you ask a question and you get an answer, then you're on your own really you have to really listen and then use what the participant has given you. What I want to talk about is the thought process that went into the design of creating the question, but then how are you going to use that question to make it live for participants in the room? And that's when we talk about the engagement model. And the engagement model helps you formulate a questioning strategy, and it's really a best practice for instructors. We talk about listening here. And the real question I have for you is, are you listening or are you just waiting to talk? Because the challenge here is that if the question isn't properly connected to the content and to the participants' comments, it could be construed as an interrogation. And you know that even in sales, when the very things you're using now to get their interest, if you use them incorrectly, that questioning, if it's interrogation, like you said earlier, it could turn them off, and they won't want to respond because they feel like you're just hammering them with questions. So the point here is it's got to be conversational. And studies have found that they'll be willing to share if it's more conversation. The bottom line here is if you're just talking during the entire workshop, you're not doing your job as an instructor. Sue, is your hand up from before?
It was just another comment to kind of think about the different linking with Amy in talking about what would some other options be besides looking at accurate information and seeing if there were other opportunities to consolidate. And then that might be a good place. I know we only had Deborah as a participant to send it out to the group. And boy, I think we all agree it's very important in how we communicate this to our customers. So, Mary, tell us, what would you say to your customer? What would that conversation sound like?
Like that, so you redirect it to someone else and pull someone else in. Thank you, and that's always important in getting other people involved. Amy. You have a comment?
I have a quick question. It's just, can you make a recommendation of how we might? This seems like it might be a little overwhelming on a call with like 40 people. So, besides that attention tracker, any resources that you would recommend to kind of streamline this so that we can get that balance?
You're not, and I would say you take your time. You're not doing it with everyone. Over the course of the program, you're going to want to try to touch, but on a call with 40, it's going to be difficult.
This is Sue, and just to kind of piggyback off what Amy said, in addition to all of us working sometimes with large groups of participants on our calls, and maybe others can bear this out, I sometimes feel like, wow, there is a tremendous amount of content to get through. So when we were talking earlier about, have we ever asked a question then forgot what the participant said, is sometimes I think it comes down to the challenge of timing.
Right.
And getting the content in that space of time and still have really quality conversation.
Yes, that is the key, because remember, Sue, without quality conversation, even it might be diminishing returns. So even if you get all that stuff in, if you're just talking, they might not even retain it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if at some point maybe what we try and accomplish in a call with our written materials may change in favor.
Yeah, we're having a session with the designers as well.
Awesome.
We're going to be looking at that going forward, because you just can't put because you only have 90 minutes, it's a totally different animal than face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that comment, because I think that's at the heart of really a good design really helps with good instruction. It's not hitting with a fire hose and seeing all you can get in a session.